So this is our real estate flipping dashboard, currently on version 5.1. I'm going to take the time to go through a good detailed overview of product and a tutorial of kind of how to use it. So before I start and really get into the details, I do want to note something about the password. I get questions on this on most of the products. So obviously there is a password key to unlock the file. I will note that this password key does not work for the first two tabs. The About tab and Password tab are locked using a different passcode as part of our business and brand. The rest of the tabs in the workbook are absolutely unlockable, but as a side note, you should never have to unlock the tabs to use the file. So everything you would need to interact with, update, and change or edit is either a white box or a beige drop-down box. Everything else, it's blue, it's gray, it's locked for a purpose, it's intended to protect the formulas. Some of it's pretty complex. It can be in certain files and certain systems. So, however, we understand some people do want to unlock the file and change colors and change formatting. That's perfectly okay. But just note that, if you do want to unlock it, this is the passcode, and we also do have a link with a video built in. It's about a 2-minute video. It's real simple, and it'll walk you through step by step on how to unlock and use that passcode. So we're going to start with the subcontractor and supplier contact list. So this is just a real simple and easy table. It's got company name. This is just a real simple and easy table for contact information for any of your, obviously your contractors, suppliers, etc. Company name, address, what do they do for you, primary contact, phone number. The company name, I will note, does play into your property tabs, which I'll cover in a little bit. But in general, all of this is optional, but you may want to actually use the company names because this will help simplify your workbook a little bit later. And then, so from here, we'll go right into the ROI assessment. Before you ever want to roll any of property information into one of these property tabs and start building this out, you can conduct an ROI assessment. It's going to be a little faster, a little simpler to use, and you're not creating a property tab. It's just kind of a test and go. So we'll work top to bottom. So in general, what's your profit goal? Are you looking for 20 or 30% percentage wise? And then, looking at the property, what do you think you're going to end up selling it for? What's best case? Based on the cost per square foot, location, etc. And then you're going to get estimated total cost based on the table below, which I'll walk through, and then your assessment results. So from here, you're going to jump down to projected costs. So transactional, acquisition, what are you going to pay for the property? What are you going to pay in financing fees, etc. You can capture all that in their acquisition costs. When you go to sell the house, what are you going to pay any commissions? Do you have a realtor you work with, etc. And then on the, as a seller, on the buyer side, are you going to pay any buyer concessions as part of closing costs? So those are some things you can capture. And the rest of this is going to be a high level, let's say a high level list of, or like an itemized list of your budget spend on your, remodel. What are you going to do to spend? What are you going to do to fix it? Repairs, improvements, updates, etc. to boost the property value. And then this will sum up down here at the bottom for your total cost for the property. And then your assessment's going to be the difference. So resale value versus estimated total cost for you. And you're going to get what your goal is, 20%. So it should be the 32 of the 180. Your actual in this case is going to be 19. So it's not that you won't make a profit. You'll still make, in this case, you still make almost 20,000, but it's going to be about almost 13,000 off of what your target was. So then you'll have to make a decision on whether you want to invest in this property or not, or is there something you can do to shave some cost. Now from here, let's say now, okay, now I'm ready to actually roll into a property, or I bought one, I'm ready to start. So then you're going to get into the actual property budget and spend tabs. So we'll work top down, left, right, etc. So the property name is going to be up here in the top left, and then you're going to set a build and flip budget. And you'll do that. You can change this number at any time, but this is going to kind of guide some of the red and green values in this table, in the summary and stuff up above. So set your budget spend. And then what's your target / actual sales price? So initially, so I will note this, initially this is going to be your target sale price, and then later you'll update it to what it actually was. So let me say that again. Initially, when you first build the sheet, set it to what your target sales price is, and then once you've sold the property and over here to the right, you've got an actual sale date. So when you add a sale date, make sure you add and update your actual sales price. And then seller commission percentage. So generally you're going to be 4 to 7%, so you'll want to capture that. Maybe, you're a realtor and you're going to get some of that, but I do have a note in here. So include all selling commissions to be paid when you sell, even if you personally will be collecting some of those commissions yourself. So even if you're a realtor and you're going to get 2.5, still plug in the 5%, because that's going to fall out in this offer review table, which we'll explain a little bit later. Now, home square feet, and what this is going to do is help give you a kind of price per square foot, your sell and cost and all that, and all those other things. So we'll go down here to the left. So we'll start with your itemized budget spend. So let me kind of explain how this tool is going to work. So day one, just like the ROI assessment, is pretty much set up very similar. You're going to set up your itemized budget. So again, you've got acquisition costs. And what are you paying to buy the property, finance the property? Are you going to pay any selling concessions? You're going to pay any closing costs, and then build out your itemized budget. As much detail as you can, high-level items. And from here, you're then going to work into your detailed spend and expense tracking. So you're going to notice this table is really short, and this table is really long. So as you go through, you can track everything you spend money on. I wouldn't do it down to the dollar, but you're going to do high-level items, your major spend items. And you're going to track those details. And then once you're done with this, you'll go back. So you'll see this itemized budget and spend table. You've got a projected cost, which is what you'll initially fill out. So this is what you're projected to spend, and this is going to play into your calculations up here until you come back, and once you've updated and you've spent your detailed spend and expense, you can come back and update your actual. And you can do that by going through and clicking and kind of hovering over which items relate directly to, in this case, like HVAC. What'd you spend on HVAC? And you're going to get some numbers down here. So I highlighted 2. I've got a sum down here, and I can plug that into my actual. And what you'll get from doing that, so that's the workflow. Again, itemized budget, projected, break down your detailed spend as you go, and then come back and fill out the actual. And up top, what you'll get is you'll have your acquisition cost, which is this. You'll have your build, flip, spend. So this is the actual. Right now, I'll show you here. So your flip budget first is gonna, note dropped. So it'll be your itemized budget first, and then it'll be budget spend actual. So this number is the 51,650. You'll notice, 650, which is this number here. So as soon as I fill out actual, it's going to replace this number with an actual number. So you're going to want that to be filled out completely once you update this, because as an example, if I plug in 6,000, I'm going to get a 6,000, and it's going to replace that. So it's looking at this number, and once I plug in something here, it's going to replace it. So you don't want to fill out actual until, you can do it as you go, but you're going to probably want to wait until you're done to have all the numbers, and then you can plug it all in. So I'll put that back to a 0. Now, you got seller concessions, which is this value. Your commissions cost, which is going to be the 5% of your target or actual sale price. Reminder, target when you start, and then come back and update the actual, and that'll give you your true commissions cost. And then you're going to get an overall price per square foot based on your actual sale price and your number of square feet. So this all comes out, and you basically get, that's your summary for the total property. So you got your total profit that you made, which is what you sold it for, minus your commissions and your acquisition costs and your budget spend, and then profit percentage of sales. So your 47 divided by the total property cost, which is the 215, that gives you 22.1%. Now on the detailed spend and expense tracking, there's some neat features in here, and we'll kind of go through. So for every line item, you've got a date you can plug in, and then you've got a tracking name or category. So I will say this used to be a drop down based on the supplier list, but now I've changed that. I did forget I changed that. So the supplier list does not end up playing into your property tabs. It used to. I did change it for simplification and for other reasons. So, but coming back to this tracking name. So let's say you use the same plumbing company multiple times, or you've got this thing functions in multiple ways, so I'll say it that way first. So first is I had a job, Hill Plumbing. I hired them to do a bathroom replumb. I paid them $3,500, and they came, they worked for a few days, and they were gone. So when I paid them, I did a full payout. So you have a thing in here that says paid in full. Was it a material deposit, draw, full payout, or other expense? So you have an option. So in this case, I paid in full, $3,500. So this line item, by tagging it full payout, I know that they're paid in full for this job. Now, there's some work that you may hire a contractor to do that might take 2 to 4 to 6 weeks. So this will, and they're generally going to, in those cases, some of them will like to take a draw each week. So what you'll be able to do is, in those cases, just like I did here for Easy Roofing, they're doing replacing shingle damage or replacing the roof. Well, they got a contractor draw, so I tagged it as draw for $1,500. So as I'm going, I'm going to give you an example here. So let's say I come back in, I'm not going to add a date because I don't need to for right in a second, but I'm going to use Easy Roofing. So it'll kind of auto-populated. And you'll see, so spent to date, this is going to automatically change. So right now I just plugged in Easy Roofing. My last spend was $1,500, so that's showing the $1,500. There's nothing else in this table. So now Easy Roofing, if I come back in and say, okay, I spent another $1,500, so I wrote them a check for another $1,500. So spent to date, every time I plug in a new row, the last number associated with this line item, so this tracking name or category or contractor, etc. So now I'm showing that for Easy Roofing, spent to date on this project for this house, I've spent $3,000 directly with Easy Roofing. In addition to that, so it's a quick, easy number to say, okay, for all my roofing work, I spent, or for Easy Roofing, I spent this amount of money. And you can do that for every contractor. And then paid in full, okay, look, that was the other half of the job, so now I'm full paid. So now you have traceability of, is everybody paid in full or not? And then if you got other jobs that carry over, you can tag as, again, draw, or hey, you paid for material, so it's a material deposit for some of the work you were going to get done. All right, so we'll change that back to what it was. We'll say other expense. Now, for some things that aren't, as an example, let's say this is a refrigerator, or I could say appliance actually. Let's say appliances. This will be easier. And let's say I spent $2,000 on a refrigerator. Oops, can't spell today. All right, so $2,000 on appliances, and then I come back in again. A couple weeks later, more appliances, and I spend $1,200 on a stove. So right now I've got the detail in here. It's just listed as other expense, so it's not directly related to any kind of contractor or anybody doing any major work. But I bought things for the house, and spent to date on appliances, I've spent $3,200. So for the whole project. So it's automatically doing the math because the tracking name or category I used was the same. And then the detailed description's over here, so I have the detail. But that's a nice little feature that makes it easy to track as you spend through the table, and it sums some stuff up for you as well as you're going through over here to the right. So now you've got, this is just one property, and you'll be able to do this for property 2, and then you've got a property template. So let's say as an example, okay, I'm ready to add another property, because overall this dashboard and system will support 25 property flips. They actually handle more than that, but your table, your data, everything's going to pull in your dashboard is up to 25. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to add a property tab, because I get questions about this too. How do I add a property? This is really, 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 really simple. So I've got property 1, property 2. So the next sequential number is simply property 3. So I'm going to select my tab, right click, select move or copy, and then I'm going to go to, I'm just going to pick somewhere, I'm just putting where I'm going to place it at. So I'm going to create a copy, and hit OK. So now it generated a copy. I'm just going to rename that to property 3. So now when I go to my data table, you're going to see now property 3 is saying, it's giving me, so if you look at this table, information where it's available is being pulled in, and then if no tab exists, it's going to say add new property tab. You can see that in the rest of the rows, and then where I just added property 3, it just says update property tab. So it's looking for information, and actually in the property template there's a sale date in here. I don't want that in there. I take that out. And I'll take that out of property 3 as well. So I'll go back to the data table, and now it's just saying update property tab. So as soon as I come into the property tab, and let's say I add a flip budget of, in this case, 60,000, I'll go back to that data table. That 60,000 just pulled in. So it's just that easy to add a property tab. You start filling it out, and it's automatically going to pull in your dashboard. Now, the importance of the sale date and the target sales price and all this other information is key pieces of that will pull into this table, and that's what's going to populate your dashboard. So total profit by property in K, so thousands. Here's your total profit by property. This is profit percentage by property. So these directly relate, just basically overlap. So you got the property name down here and then percentage. And again, this bar is over this bar, which is tied to this property. And then total profit by month in thousands. So in this case, both of these, if I look at property 1, sale date 1/2, property 2, sale date 1/2. So if I were to change this to, as an example, to 2/1, in my dashboard, the information is going to change. So let's see, sorry, let's go back. I changed that to 2/1/25, so it's not going to show. So 2/1/24. I'll go back to the dashboard and see how it moved. So now all the information is still there, but now I'm showing 47.6 thousand in profit in January and 28.6 thousand in profit in February. And if you got 10 properties done in February, it's going to sum them all for February. That's how it'll work. Okay, so that handles the property templates and then how they feed into the dashboard. And then again, I'm just selecting the first month of my chart. So if I were to change this to, I'll go backwards because these are early in the year. So let's go to 11/1/23. It's just going to move these up. So I can basically change this date, and I can look at any 12-month period that I want to, as long as the information in the dashboard is there. Now from the properties, the last major tool or piece of this whole system is a seller offer review. So as the property seller, you flipped and now you're ready to sell it, and you want to make an assessment. Let's say you got an offer, it's a little different than what you originally targeted, and you just want to do an evaluation based on commissions and other things. So first you're going to be able to go up here and select the property. So in each property, you've got the property name, which by the way populates in the top right as well. So this property name will show up here. Same with property 2. Tidewater shows up here. And then in your data table, you got the property here to the left, and then you got the property name, which will populate. So in your offer review, you're basically selecting from one of those property names that exist in your workbook. So I can pick one. Let's say I want to pick Tidewater, current offer, total commissions 5%, and this is what you're currently seeing. Maybe you're working with somebody different, and it's 6%, 4%, whatever the number is. Your estimated total cost, this will pull directly from the property tab. So if I go to Tidewater, you'll see that I've got acquisition cost. So if I look at acquisition, build, flip, spend, commissions, seller costs. This is let's see here, 156, one. We're going to check some math here. So I'm seeing 166, 400, but I want to make sure I'm not double dipping on any math. So if I go back to offer review, this is saying 167, 400, but there might be another number in here I'm not grabbing. 8,000, 5%. Oh, there you go. That's the difference. Because I said the number in here was going to be, so offer review is the 215. So we'll go back to property 2. Let's change this to 215,000. It's going to change my numbers. There you go. So now if I were to highlight this, 167,400. So I'll go back to offer review. That's the 167,400. Total profit, 47,600. That's the 47,600. So it's all matching up. Whoops. All right, so now estimated total profit in this case would be 22.1%. And then let's say you are working with 1 or 2 or 3 other people, and you're doing this as a group. So what percentage? So the total profit in this case is the 47.6. But if you're looking at this as an individual, as part of a group, and you're saying, okay, what percentage of sales are you going to get of total profit? And maybe it's 100%. Remember, don't count commissions. Still don't count commissions out of this. That's going to be towards the bottom. So, you know, if you're going to be 25%, then you're going to get 11,900 out of the 47.6. So we'll change that back to 100. So it's just a quick tool. Now, I'm going to actually, we'll come back to this actually. So out of property cost breakdown, you've got total flip spend, acquisition costs. Now, you'll notice in the property tab, it's got acquisition, it's got selling concessions 8, so this is estimated cost. Now let's go back to the offer review. So you've got 167, so that might just be a coincidence that I had 8,000. So this number, I was lying, I made a mistake. So that's, oops. So the 167,400, it does match, because it's pulling in the build, flip, spend, and the acquisition cost directly from the property tab. But the closing cost, so it's basically summing these two, but the closing, the seller concessions that you initially projected will actually be, you can kind of manually break that down here if you wanted to. So you can just put a one line item that says concessions, just like in the other table, or, you know, and if you're trying to send this review or look at and break this down to share, then you can kind of break what those concessions down would be. So then you've got paid commissions. So the paid commissions is your 5% up here times obviously times your 215 target offer price. Now, so that's the total breakdown of your cost. Now let's say you're a realtor and you're also flipping the house and you get a percentage of the commissions. So there's no kind of tricky math or anything, but this is going to help you understand what your property earnings are going to be. So let's say you're a realtor, you're splitting the overall cost of somebody else as in terms of, you know, this is a shared venture. So let's say you get 50% of the profit. So that's the 23.8. And then your percentage of the commission. So you've got the buyer and seller, you're the seller realtor representative. So you've got 50% of that. So your total earnings, so again, the estimated profit, 47,600. But your total earnings as the realtor flipping the house is going to be the 27,750. Because you're going to get the 23.8 plus another 39.50 for the commissions. So that's your total. And that's all that, I mean, that's how that works. If it's a 0 and you're not a realtor, you just ignore the bottom, it doesn't matter. And if you're just the sole flipper, then there's your profit, 47.6. Pretty simple to use, and it's got some kind of neat features. If you are a realtor, I think that happens quite often. People start flipping houses after they become realtors. So I think that pretty much wraps and sums everything up on how to use it. You know, all of our products do come with a detailed PDF guide. It'll probably walk you through, you know, more than what I covered here in case I missed anything, of course. You'll notice there's a lot of notes built in. If you hover over any of the red corners, it'll walk you through. A lot of cases, it'll give you some examples, but it'll it'll break some things down for you and spell some stuff out, which I think is a kind of a nice feature that I've been building into a lot of my solutions lately. Anyway, if you got any questions, feel free to reach out, and thanks for watching.